So it's been a hot minute since I've reviewed erotica on this channel that TikTok forced upon me. That's it. That's my intro. I'm Amanda, you're watching Swell Entertainment, and today I read the first 3 books, sci-fi series. I can call it a sci-fi series. Ice Planet Barbarians. Listen, I am like ingrained, interwoven, one could say, with the book talk community on TikTok. They've recommended me quite a few books, and as I've been trying to get back into reading now that I have a little bit more free time kind of planned around my schedule, I have been reading a lot more, and book talk has been recommending me a lot of things. So they've recommended me some great books, such as the recently released For the Wolves by Hannah Witten. Very good book. I liked it a lot. I now have to wait a freaking like year and a half for the sequel, which is gonna suck. They also recommended me These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. It's a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in like 1920 Shanghai. Great book. The sequel comes out in November. Very excited for that. They've also recommended me things unintentionally in that they just talk about it and then I have no choice but to read it because I am nosy and curious. Is that gonna get me killed one day? Probably. But that's the reason that I read this thing, Den of Vipers. 640 pages, essentially, of just smut with like plot sprinkled in. If you squint, you'll see the plot. It's a reverse harem, dubious consent. If you read the Wattpad stories where it's like, I was sold to One Direction, my mom sold me to one, it's basically that. Content warning repeatedly. Was I clutching my pearls? No. But again, I read the Wattpad previously stated. Was I into this? Not really. Was I clutching my pearls? No. But nothing has ever ingrained itself on my For You page quite like Ice Planet Barbarians. Now, previously TikTok also recommended the Kissing the Coronavirus book that I reviewed last year about coronavirus, sentient coronavirus humanoid erotica and the scientist that like wanted to screw the coronavirus because it was so powerful. Anyway, there are now 3 books in that series, and I had every intention, every plan of like finishing the series and just like committing to making a video so people stop sending me those like, did you look and see there's another one? I'm just gonna get it done. But then Ice Planet Barbarians came along, or people discovered it, because this is a 22 book series and people have decided that this is the new obsession. And so every second video on my For You page is trying to get me to read the book with alien peens. It's too early in the video for me to say the D word. So I read all of the first 3 books. There's 22 books and novellas in the whatever in this series. Each book follows one of the human girls and a different one of the aliens. I'm gonna try and be as serious for this video as I can be. I have an English degree, it's an associate's degree, but I have an English degree. I would love to sit here and do a deep dive on the analysis that is alien erotica. And we're just gonna see how much I can hold it together. Because some of this is ridiculous. Some of it I'm not a fan of. And also, I'm gonna get super awkward at a certain point. Half of this series, 90% of this whole series, is a breeding kink. I have fears of pregnancy. I have no idea if I'm ever gonna have kids. I don't know. I was the person that if I was reading a piece of smut and then after, it's always the night after, the day after. Have you noticed that with smut? Do people not know how biology works? I don't know. This book barely towed the line. Main character, okay, they just had a night of like ridiculous sex, okay, maybe acrobatic sex, like porn, they'd be like, oh, that doesn't seem realistic, like that type of shit. And then the next day she like feels sick. No, okay, I exit the tab. I remove it from my Wattpad library. I delete it off of Tumblr, okay? I ignore it. I'm done. I don't want that. So the fact that the 90% of this series is a breeding kink is not my favorite. I don't have a breeding kink, but apparently half of TikTok does. So good for them. They have found a series for them. So we're gonna go ahead and review the sci-fi series that is Ice Planet Barbarians. There are physical copies of these books. I just did the Kindle downloads because it was faster. They're not very long. It took me 4 days to read 3 of the books, and that's because I was doing other things. Aside from the second book, they're about 180 pages each. The second book is about 289, I think, but I mean, it was an enemies to lovers, so I mean, they had to get to the lovers part, and then obviously we had the lovers part, and then there was this whole exile thing, and then Liz being a little shit. I told one of my friends that I was reading this series, and she was like, is the sex as ridiculous or as crazy as like the TikToks make it seem? Honestly, no. The smut itself is I don't want to say tame because that's not the word. I expected more variety. Let's go with that. Considering like size kink is like a whole thing. And like most of these alien dudes are like over 7 feet tall or close to 7 feet tall, you know? Oh, by the way, I made art last night. Hold on. I did this with the coronavirus erotica, in which I took one of the Ninja Turtles, it was Leonardo, from the Bayverse Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, and I edited him to look like the humanoid coronavirus to be my representation. Now, obviously, I thought I should do that here too, because though a lot of people have done art for Ice Planet Barbarians, I didn't feel comfortable with like using one of their arts as like a representation. There's a lot of people who have done it though. A lot of them are much more talented than me. However, graphic design is my passion. So here is my Ice Planet Barbarian. I used Donatello from the Bayverse Ninja Turtles movie. The amount of time I spent on this is actually dumb. Like it's so dumb. But, you know, I think this is a good enough representation. Content warning for the whole series and topics. Obviously, I'm talking about sex. We're talking about interspecies sex. So yeah, there's that. Dubious consent. Very early on in the first book, there is a blatant, it's only like 2 paragraphs, but it's still, it's not, one of the girls is assaulted. Not by the sexy aliens. And yes, I'm referring to them as the sexy aliens because there's also the bad aliens. So I have to distinguish the two. So we're going to call one the sexy aliens and one the bad aliens. Okay, that's what we're doing. She is assaulted. It's not good. It's not pleasant. It's quick, but it's surprising. I was not prepared for it. So you've been warned. Be aware of that. The books follow the point of view of 2 people usually. So for the first book, it's Georgie and Vectel, I want to say, is the alien that she gets paired with. All of the girls in this are like 22 and they're young and single and healthy, able-bodied, whatever. None of them have like close family, anything like that. The girls that we see in the first book basically are the extras because all of them were abducted by aliens. There are the stick aliens and the basketball head aliens. And Kira, who the third book is about, was given a implant that's like a translator so that she can hear, because they were upset that she couldn't understand them basically. So she is a forced, like they tagged her like a cow basically is what they refer to them as. So the first chunk of the first book is that the girls that we are speaking with and meeting, there's Kira, there's Liz, there's Georgie, who's the lead for the first book. They have been abducted and they are going to be sold. They are the cargo. They're going to be sold to a high bidder. But they are also the extras because along the wall is 6 tubes with 6 other girls in it. Okay, so in total there's like 12 girls remaining. There was more, but like some of them died because like crash. Yeah, and then someone like offed themselves because she was like done with it. Book 1 is a lot. Georgie is like, we have to get out of here. We have to fight. I'm not getting sold off. They're dirty. They're hungry. They can't understand what's going on. If they scream, assault happens, like they can't fight back, it's bad. They take over one of the guns from one of the aliens and like Georgie kills the guy, but then apparently they were having issues with fuel or something, so the aliens that abducted them were like, hey, we're gonna drop cargo on this semi-inhabitable planet and see what happens. So they just dump the cargo, as in all of the girls, because in this case they are the cargo, and they are stuck on this ice planet. They decide, hey, there's a hole here. We can actually get out of this cage now. We can get out of this room. We need to go figure out if we're on Earth. We need to figure out where we are. They call the planet not Hoth because it's basically Hoth. It's just cold all the time. They're like, hey, Georgie's like the leader. So like you should be the one to go out and like investigate. So they send Georgie out. She like takes the dead aliens' clothes because they were all abducted in their underwear basically because they were all abducted in their pajamas. I agree. That's alarming. So Georgie goes out and she is like trying to investigate, and obviously it's an alien planet, and she assesses that, they all assess that fairly quickly, that it's an alien planet. There's 2 suns. It's pretty hard to ignore that it's an alien planet. So Georgie is like trying to investigate, trying to find water, trying to find food, trying to find anything, and it's freezing, but she gets caught in a trap, and then she's upside down, and her head is like blood rushed into her head, obviously, because she's stuck in a trap. She's like upside down. So she passes out, but Vectel finds her. And we're going to talk about this, but one thing that I like about sci-fi like this is when there is not just like a language barrier, but like a language customs barrier, but like different species, planets type of thing, because like, I don't know, it's just kind of funny. And then even when they do understand each other, once the language thing happened, there's a language dump that happens. There's still like certain human words that just don't translate. I don't know, it's just like comical. I find that funny. I need to speed this up if I'm going to talk about the other 2 books at all. The planet that they are on, not Hoth, this planet is so uninhabitable. Anyone who lands there who is not native to there, they'll die. The planet will kill them. Unless they get a parasite. Some of the girls call it a cootie, but it's cooey. It like lives in your chest, but it changes the color of your eyes. It helps you heal faster. It helps you stay a little warmer than normal. But also it resonates. That's what they call it, the resonance, when it finds its mate, the match in the cooey. And so Vectel resonates for Georgie. Georgie doesn't have a cooey, and it's kind of funny because he just assumes that she is like, she's unconscious, obviously, because she was upside down, but he just assumes that like, oh yes, my mate, but she must be sick because her eyes are not glowing blue, and her cooey must be injured. Oh no, I will find her a cooey. Like it's... Anyway, dubious consent. She's unconscious again. He undresses her and then is like so overcome with his cooey that he eats her out. You know this is written by a woman because the amount of going downtown is actually hilarious. Like it's almost comical. Side note, Ruby Dixon, if I have to read the words, the air was perfumed with the scent of her arousal, I'm gonna walk into traffic. I'm sure we can find better words or just different ones because it's like every book I hear it 4 times. It's like we need a variety. Okay, she comes to and is like, what are you doing? But then is still like into it, so she like lets it happen because like she's been in a very unhospitable environment for like 2 weeks and now she's got someone going down on her, so she's like, okay. Anyway, so she doesn't have a cooey. They try to like communicate as best they can. Georgie and Vectel are like literally like the blueprint, quite literally blueprint. Anyway, they go back to where the girls are trapped. And when did they start having sex? Before or after? Before. They had sex the first time before they get to the girls in the ship. So Georgie like feels bad because like the girls are like freezing in like their dirty crash spaceship, and they're worried that the alien's gonna come back for them. And then she's like screwing the alien. A side note, alien dick. So fairly regular dicks, except giant, ridged because they have ridges all over their bodies. And then they also have a spur, which is described as a pinky finger right above their dick. So like when they're doing like missionary or whatever, it like bumps into the clitoris, which they call the third nipple, the aliens, because they don't understand it. And then like they keep like, no, that's a clit. Like that's what that is. Why? And then yeah, if you do joggy style, answer the question for yourself. Anyway, they get the girls back, but then they have to leave the girls there to go back to Vectel's cave with all the other aliens. The other aliens, there's a lot of men. There's only like 4 or 5 women in the tribe of the Sukui. And that's because there used to be more, but then there was a Kui sickness that wiped a bunch of people out. And so the tribe is much smaller. There's like twice as many unmated males as there are human females, let alone Sukui females. They're all excited because, oh my God, there's more women. And she doesn't tell them right away that there's 12. She only tells them like, oh yeah, it's me and then like 5 others. Like, that's it. Please don't be mad at us. And then they're all excited because it's like, oh, potential for a mate. There's the Elder Cave. The Elder Cave is how the Sukuis landed on Not Hoth, basically, because they were on like a camping trip, basically, like, but then the ship crash landed like hundreds of years before, and so they just inhabited it. So Sukui refer to the broken down ship as the Elder Cave. It's like it's shiny and flat, doesn't make sense, but that cave gives the ability for people to like learn languages super quickly. So like Georgie gets the info dump of Vectel's language so that she can not only understand him, but she can understand all of them, basically. Okay, so now they can talk to each other. Yay! A bunch of the other alien dudes, before they go back to get the rest of the girls, they get the info dump as well so that they can know the human language. They're like, hey, and Georgie, I should point out, though they're like the Kui decides who is the soul. It's like a soulmate thing, basically. The Kui decides who is mate and the Kui is never wrong. That type of thing. Georgie is like, okay, but like humans don't have Kuis. We have free will, and so no human women that don't want to be with the aliens, like no forcing, like they get to set the pace, whatever. And Vectel's like, you got it, because Vectel's chief, obviously, because of course the leader has to end up with a leader. That's just how this ends up working. So Vectel tells all the men, like, you have to be respectful. And then there's one Rahush, I'm going to go with Rahash. That sounds right. Who is the second book for Liz. That one, we'll talk about him in a second. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they get the girls, they get them all out, they warm them up, whatever. And then they go and hunt the beast because there's a beast that carries cooies inside of it, like inside. So the cooies are literally like worm things that are like glowing. And you have to make an incision in the neck to feed it in so that it can take over the host. And so Georgie's the first one because she already decided like, yeah, we're not going to be able. Oh yeah, once you get the cooey, you cannot leave the planet. You can't leave Not Hoth because once you have the cooey, the earthling or the host for the parasite, the host cannot leave the planet and also would not exist off the planet, would cease, they would die. And then the cooey would also not exist on its own without a host. So yeah, parasite's gonna parasite. So she passes out, she gets it, and then I guess most of the women get it. Oh, also Georgie's pregnant. She's pregnant within like 3 days of hooking up with Vectel because fiction. That's basically book 1. Everyone's all excited. Yay, she's pregnant. Also, side note, these pregnancies apparently last up to 3 years. Horrifying. Book 2, Rahash and Liz. So starts right off with Liz's perspective, and it's kind of like picks off towards the end of book 1, essentially, where it's like as they are waiting to see if Georgie's gonna get the cooey and then the other girls may get it, they're like trying to calm down the girls that were like in it too because they've been in stasis this whole time. So like they haven't experienced any of the turmoil that like the other girls have, but also like that might be worse because then it's like, okay, so we saved you from the bad aliens, but now we have sexy aliens, but also you're gonna die if you don't get this worm in your neck. Book 2 is enemies to lovers to where the fuck is my man? Basically, Liz is like, you know what? No, I don't want to get the alien thing. I don't want to get the cootie. I don't want to get it. I don't want it. And Rahash is like, okay, wait here. She thinks he can't speak English. She doesn't know. She never asked. She just assumed he didn't understand her. And so he just stays silent. Basically, he forces the cooey on her, but she was already gonna die. So it's like bad, but also like ethics, aliens, make your own judgment. I wasn't a fan, but like she grows to accept it and she probably didn't want to die. She definitely didn't want to die. So it's like, she just was like, there's another option. I'll figure it out. Like it was just not an ideal situation. He quite literally kidnaps her basically and is like, I will take her into the woods until we are mated and she is fat with my child and then no one can take her from me. I don't recommend that. Dudes, don't do that ever. Don't. No, not a fan. Fiction, people can get away with more. Real life, no. Also, no. Ugh. Liz, I will say, is the funniest out of everyone in that she's a little shit, and I respect that. There was a joke she made in the first book where she's like, I don't blame you for hooking up with Vectel because I'll suck any of their blue dicks if any of them gets me a cheeseburger. Because she's been starving for 2 weeks. It's kind of funny. A lot of back and forth, questionable courting rituals. Anyway, they finally are like, okay, yeah, I'll hook up with you. They're out and about. They're living in a cave that Rahash has that is like his secret cave because he's a loner because his parents were mated, but like his mother hated his father. And when she was pregnant with his brother, she was like, I have to keep the baby. I don't have to live with you. The elder, Vectel's father at the time, agreed. And so Rahash's dad was like, no, that's bullshit. So he kidnapped Rahash and Rahash's mother, who was pregnant at the time, and took them off into the woods. And then Rahash's father came back with Rahash. The mother and the younger sibling had died. Awful. Anyway, so that's Rahash's like view of like the cooey and everything. It's like, it's never wrong. You'll learn to like me anyway, or if not, it'll be fine if you hate me because like I'll love you. Liz's acceptance of the cooey and the mating and the resonance and all of that is basically like, she kind of feels bad that like for a long time Rahash had like believed that like, one, he's never going to have a mate. He's going to be alone forever. There's not a lot of women. He's also like very scarred and disfigured. He's missing one of his horns. Even the Sakui women, the few that were there, had never like given him any attention. And so she's like, I basically represent like a future to him that he never thought he would have. And I've been a bitch the whole time about it, which is like, yeah, but I think you have a right to like want choices. And that's her whole thing is like, I just want someone to give me a choice because everything has been chosen for me in the last 3 weeks. I didn't want to get abducted. I didn't want to be stuck in a cage. I didn't want to be stuck on Not Hoth. And like now I'm stuck with you. I didn't want the parasite, like that type of thing. She has every right to be like that. They accept each other. Liz gets pregnant, as one does on this planet. But then because they have been out and about, Heiko and Hayden find them and are like, hey, you have to come back because there's storms coming. But basically Vectel's pissed because Rahash basically abducted Liz without her consent, and even though she's cool with it now and Stockholm Syndrome is set in, still he broke the rules of the tribe and the rules that Vectel set for dealing with the human women. It's like they still have to have a choice because their culture is different than ours. Like you still have to have a choice. Rahash is exiled, but because Liz is pregnant, she is allowed to stay. But Liz is pissed, and also Vectel was like, hey, we have some widowers who wouldn't mind taking in a new mate and a child. And Liz is like, hey, fuck you. Rahash isn't dead. He's just sitting on the ridge over there looking all emo, and he keeps bringing me meat because I am pregnant and he feels the need to provide for me because cooey stuff. So Liz is like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get my mate back. And so she originally tries to just get kicked out and is just like stirring shit up with everyone. And then she's like, oh, I know, kidnapping gets you exiled. So I'm gonna kidnap someone. So she tricks Aiko? Aiko? Okay, Aiko. I'm saying Aiko. Aiko? Hako? Aiko, so she tricks Aiko into going with her outside to go for a walk, and then Kira walks out with them as well. And Kira and Aiko are not resonating for each other, but Aiko has got it bad for Kira. But Kira, though she is a Kui as well, they have not resonated for each other, okay? A couple of people resonated, some of them didn't. There was like 5 or 6 of them that didn't resonate once they got the Kuis, okay? But they're like, it'll come later. And we'll talk about that in book 3. But Aiko's got it bad for Kira, okay? So Liz steals Aiko's knife and is like, you're my prisoner now. And Aiko's like, okay, sure. And Liz tells Kira, like, go tell them that I took him captive. And then Aiko is like, sure, I'll be your captive, whatever. But like, I'm worried you're going to hurt yourself with the knife. So like, can you just give it back? So they literally just sit in the snow together. And Aiko's like playing with the snow. And Liz is like waiting for them all to come back so that she can go be with Rahash. And Aiko is just asking her all these questions like, how come, how do human courting rituals work? Because like, I want to court Kira. And she's like, you just gotta kiss her senseless. Aiko's like, Kira doesn't want kisses. And Liz is like, that's dumb as hell. What's wrong with Kira? And Liz tells Aiko that the way that courting works on Earth is that if you really want to show a girl that you're interested in her, you should give her a realistic model of your dick. And Aiko immediately does not question this. He's like, I do have an impressive dick. And so in book 3, he whittles Kira a bone dick of his. Like just, he hands it to her and he's like so disappointed that she's not excited about the courting gift. So Liz is also exiled for kidnapping Aiko, even though he was like fine with it because he got to talk about Kira. And so basically what they ended up doing, because Liz didn't want to stay in the caves with everyone anyway because they were overcrowded. And so her and Rahash basically spend 7 days out hunting for every 1 day they are allowed to stay in the cave until Liz's baby comes, and then maybe they can stay. Oh, I'm sorry, Kit. They don't say baby, Kit. And then they can stay in the caves potentially and have their own cave. Book 3, Kira and Aiko. So again, Kira does not resonate, and we find out that the reason there's a potential for her not resonating is because it quite literally is tied to mating. The Kui is tied to one's ability to get pregnant or basically be pregnant. They find out that like, oh, because a couple of the girls didn't resonate. And one of them had been pregnant, and the aliens, they basically forcefully removed the fetus. And so she's like, my body's probably not ready to get pregnant again, which is probably what the Kui recognizes, which is why I'm not resonating. Another one of the girls had an IUD, and she was like terrified about them finding out about it because they're all terrified basically that like, oh, the only value we have here is that we can help maintain the species. So like, if we can't get pregnant, what are they gonna do to us, you know? And very valid fears in this context, I guess you could say. I disagree with the premise in general, but I mean, I can't like look at it by like Earth standards because like this is not Hoth, you know? So I have to look at it as like, this is not human standards. But basically Kira's fear is that because she's sterile, because when she was 13, her appendix burst and she got very sick and later found out that she was sterile, she couldn't have kids. She is terrified that if she tells anyone that they will get rid of her. Like, she's terrified of that. So Aiko, again, coming on heavy. They fool around a little bit, even though Kira is a virgin and terrified and very worried about telling the truth. And she's like, it's gonna, like, the moment I let myself fall for him, he's gonna resonate for someone else and I'm gonna be devastated and I'll be alone again. So, like, I have to keep pushing him away. But he's very understanding and very determined. Let's go with that. He's just accepted, like, no, Kira's mine. Like, we should live in today. Like, I adore you. He keeps calling her Sad Eyes, which is, like, really depressing. But he finds her also attractive. Like, it's very weird. She also still has the shell translator, and she's terrified that the aliens are going to come back for it. They do, naturally, so she goes and has it removed, gets the alien info dump, and then, like, the aliens come after her, and Aiko are like, we can choose to be mates. It's fine if I don't resonate. She tells him that she can't have children. He's like, that's fine. I love you. Like, we'll be together. It's fine. Which I like that. I like the choosing to be mated thing regardless of the cooey. I like that choice. I think it was dumb how it got taken away later, but we'll talk about that in a second. Basically, aliens come and they're like, we're gonna take our cargo back because my bosses are out of a lot of money because of you. And so Kira goes on the ship and, like, basically nukes the ship and then escapes in an escape pod. Aiko and Hayden are hurt, but, you know, it's the thing. But basically, Aiko and her choose each other. They announce to everyone that we're mated, even though if we can't have kids, like, they're mated. And it's like, great, go into a new cave because there's too many people, so they expand the cave system. Aiko resonates, and Kira is terrified that he has resonated for Asha, who is one of the female Sakui aliens and who has been throwing herself at Aiko, even though she is already mated to another person that she hates. And she's terrified, but then no, Kira is resonating as well. The Kui was waiting for her to be in love, or the Kui healed her sterilization from years before. That's the possibility, is that she could now be pregnant and she can get pregnant. Oh, also he screws her with the whittling carving of his penis. Side note, bone is porous? That sounds dangerous. Are there bone dildos? I don't think so. I'm gonna look up bone dildos right now. I'm gonna regret it, but I'm gonna do it. Hold on. Exotic sex toys? Okay. No, those are ancient dildos and sex toys. Let's see. See, that looks concerning though. Wanting sex but not being about to get any is certainly not a new thing. With bees? What? 54 BC, what the hell? Okay, no wonder it's BC. You guys needed Christ. They needed Jesus. I'm concerned, but, you know, alien planet, weird trees, weird bones. Maybe there's no porous bones on this planet. And so the bone dildo was totally safe. Anyway, that's where I cut I stopped reading after that. Personally, I think the whole choice thing there with Kira and Aiko was better than, like, oh, you know, she can now have babies, so now it's true love. And it's like, I don't feel like I like that. Overall of the series, out of 5, I'm gonna give it a 3. Are they fine literature? No. It's trashy fiction, trashy erotica. Sometimes that's always nice. You know, turn your brain off for a little bit and just read about men who really, all they care about is pleasing their women and providing for their women, if that's what you want. I'm surprised, because everyone made it sound like, again, super freaky sex. Again, full-on knife play in this. My favorite Den of Vipers TikTok comments that I saw when someone said, Den of Vipers has non-consensual knife play, and someone just replied with, you mean stabbing? Ice Planet Barbarians, arguably fairly tame considering everything. The most ridiculous part of it is that the anatomy of the aliens. Side note, there's enough women that I feel one of them should only be into chicks, and then she can resonate for Asha. You know, Asha hates her husband. Maybe she's into women. Human women, potentially, you know, maybe that could be something fun. Because then it's like the Kui isn't just about mating, it's like actually about feelings, you know? I mean, come on, statistically, you've got 12 women. There's no way every single one of them is only into dudes. That's just statistically not correct. It's Pride Month, Ruby Dixon, come on. And again, I have no idea. There's 22 books in the series. Maybe one of them is into girls. I don't flippin' know, but I've read 3 books, and the indication right now is that all of them will end up with males. Would I recommend Ice Planet Barbarians to satiate your morbid curiosity? Sure, you'll be fine. Keep in mind the content warnings that I told you about earlier. They're fairly quick reads. You can probably get through at least book 1 or book 2 pretty quickly. Overall, was this a more enjoyable experience than reading the Kissing the Coronavirus book? Yes. I did like the detail that was paid to the lore of this. Essentially, with sci-fi, I just want to make sure that like everything is like copacetic as far as like the rules of your planet and your alien symbiote and all that other shit. I like that. I like the detail paid to that for the world building of it all. Certain things about this book I don't like, certain things I don't agree with, and that's just me, you know? Everyone has their own, but that's gonna be it. Did you read Ice Planet Barbarians? Are you surprised that I read Ice Planet Barbarians? Did you not get this all over your For You page? And I am the one to tell you about Ice Planet Barbarians. Let me know. Comment down below. Shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. If you'd also support me on Patreon, that'll be listed down below. Like to follow me on my social media. That'll be all up here. And that's going to be it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye. They all keep talking about how strong the aliens are, so I don't understand why none of the women have been fucked against a cave wall yet. I don't understand.
Thank you, Allie, Alan, Alex, Braden, Cameron, Christopher, Chris, Cody, Colton, Crash, PC, Destiny, Devin, Dirty One, Dot, Elliot, Evan, Feckless, Hopeless, Hollow, Jekka, Ray, Joe, John, M, Jordan, Joseph, Kenny, Kevin, Kim, Kristen, Lex, Lisa, Louise, Manga, Matt, Matt O, Matthew S, Meme Lord the Red, Mike, Jay, Nathaniel, Pat, Pralak, Rob, Robbie, Robert Ross, Sam, Simon, Stephen, Tasha, Timothy, Tom, Wendy, Williams, Andre.